Well, hey, this is Andrew with SpackleBucket Moto. I'm in the garage. It's snowing outside, and I'm flying solo tonight because, well, it's snowing outside. No one wants to be out here because it's like 2 degrees. So I wanted to go through. I've got about 5-ish hours on this bike, and we're talking with some people after the indoor motocross this last time. I didn't get any video. I just kind of focused on my riding since I put the Pirelli tires on there. I just wanted to focus on my riding, and I noticed one of the things that I struggled with personally was being able to trust the front a little bit. I always had good feel with the rear, but I was still struggling in some areas on a high-speed kind of sweeping turn, trusting the front, and also coming in from a high-speed stop to a 180, being on the brakes, but being able to be comfortable with like pushing it enough. And part of it is just me being rusty. Part of it's getting used to a new bike, technique with not moving up on the tank. But one of the big things which was reminded to me was setting the sag on the bike. This one you can't set the front because it doesn't have any preload setting on there, but I can adjust the rear. And this was actually something that I forgot on my 2013 350. I forgot to set the sag on that when I had it, and I raced a whole bunch of times, and finally towards the end of the season, a suspension tuner was like, oh yeah, we'll check the sag for you. And he checks it, and sure enough, it was way off. So I'm just gonna go through and kind of get working on that, and basically just talk about some random stuff, what was going on. You know, shot the little TSE review video, had some good comments on that one, which is pretty fun. But first we'll put this thing up on the lift and get some numbers on her here and see what the free sag is, and just kind of look at what KTM calls out. I got the manual pulled out, which it's kind of funny if you read in there, because as I mentioned, there's nothing for adjusting the preload. And per the manual, or the owner's manual here, go and take a look here. If you go 57, when it talks about setting the sag at the fork here, it says, for various reasons, no exact riding sag can be determined for the fork. Which that basically means is, well, you can't adjust the preload on these forks. That's about it. So you have to have the right fork spring rate, which just depends on how skinny or fat you are. So basically, yeah, the manual here calls out 110 millimeter sag. And one of the really cool things is with this bike, which I just noticed, I'll put a little picture of it if I can, but they actually call out a sag spot on here to check, which it looks to be basically directly in line with the axle. So can't really see it here, but I put a little tick mark on it just so I could highlight it. But it's kind of nifty. They just stamped it in there. And I remember every time I'd check the sag, I'd never know if I was picking the same spot. So just one of those little convenient things here. So I'm just going to check from here down to the axle. And this is going to be a little interesting because I'm flying solo. So I'm going to kind of sit on it, and I'm probably going to hook a tape measure to the bottom of it and go up, just so that I've got an easier way of doing it while I'm sitting on it. Not the most perfect, but I'm going to guess that the sag's pretty off right now. So let's see really quick what we got here. Looking at things here. Let's see, we'll get to the bottom of the axle block there. And we are 26 and a 1, 2. We go to the bottom of it. 1, 2, 2/16. Basically 26 and an 1/8 inches. So we'll quick jot that down. One of our fancy high performance notes for when we're doing reviews here. Got to keep things simple here. 26.125 inch. All right. So next step here. Fun part, bounce it up and down a handful of times, see what it measures. And KTM calls out to have roughly 4.3 inches or 110 millimeters of sag. So we'll pop it off the stand here. Got Mr. Tape Measure kind of handy. And yeah, this is one of those things that sucks doing it yourself, but you know, you can at least get it close enough. And in this case, I'm pretty sure it's pretty far off, but or I'm completely wrong. So give her a few squishies. Hop on it. Ideally, I'd be getting both feet up on here, but you know, you gotta take what you can get. And I'll double check this with some buddies next time I'm out riding, so we'll see what kind of numbers we get. So we are at basically 22 flat. So actually, no, sorry, 24. That's not jiving. So according to that, we're actually not sagging enough. Whew. Hold. Okay, yeah. 21 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 21 and 7/8, roughly. Again, not perfect, but 21.875. And, oh, geez, now I got to do arithmetic. Knock that out. 0, 12, carry the 5. 0, put that at 5, 10, 2. You know, we're actually not far off. I'm going to guess that it's probably a little worse than that if I had my both feet on there and geared up. So I'm actually going to go ahead and give it an extra little whoop to help compensate for the fact that I don't have any of my riding gear on, so it's got to add a few pounds, plus not having both feet on there. So all I'm going to do is go ahead, flip this around. Single Allen bolt here. I'm just going to crank it down. I'm going to do basically, you know, a revolution or two on the preload nut, and then kind of go from there. And if it, you know, adjusts the feel in a positive way, we know we made a good step. If it hinders how it feels, well, then we know we got a problem. So let's get Mr. Wrench out. Whew. Oh, wrong size. But yeah, we posted up the TSE review video earlier this last week, and you know, some of the responses have been not outside of what I would expect from what I'd, you know, seen some other people deal with. But some of it, I think there was a misunderstanding in some of what I was trying to note. I was really trying to note that the bike as a first go is really good. Yeah, it had some teething issues and stuff like that. But my bigger issues with it are the fact that, yeah, it's, you know, you're paying this money for something that's a total knockoff, and there's, you know, some people that's not an issue, and to some others it is. And so, you know, between that and just, you know, resale and overall value of it, you know, for me, it just wasn't there. And for a lot of people, it's not. I mean, you can go buy you know, I know some people have bought some leftover Husky FE350Ss, the street legal ones, to use as their race bikes for the season. You know, and they got them for like $2,000 more than what the GPXs, the TSEs sell for. And it's like, well, you know, those Huskies are going to be worth way more than the TSE at any point in their resale, you know. And I believe a few people asked me what I got for resale on it, and well, $2,000. So you're $4,000 in, and basically half of that was gone. So that was over a year, and myself, I basically put, wish I had a correct spanner for this, but no dice. We'll roll. Wow. Yep. We basically got ourselves a full rotation on that. So I locked the clamper down, and it might actually be, sadly enough, despite my rowing and yoga I've been doing, the weight has not exactly been dropping, but I think stamina and endurance is vastly improved, so that's a plus. All right, so we got that locked down, and I think that's about it. We'll kind of jiggle it. I'll see if I can get another rough number on it, get an idea where we're at. And I'm stoked because we are going back to the indoor on Wednesday. Kind of sucks having to take the woods bike to basically motocross track, but you know, you got to take what you can get, especially in the Midwest when literally half your season is taken up with either just crappy rain or just crummy weather. So let's see if we can get a rough number on that guy, see where we're at. This is gonna be jiggle it. Okay. Yeah, we're just under 22 inches. So that puts us at like 4 1/8. So we're a bit closer to where we should be. So that should add a little bit. I mean, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it doesn't usually take too much to make major differences in feel on the bike. So that's basically all I've got planned for tonight. I didn't want to do too much. It's freezing out and I don't have the heater on because it's noisy as all get up. But I did want to show a couple things that I've been using for the past couple of years that I think help greatly. So if you're like me and spend way more time on a keyboard instead of riding, I saw this tip a long while back about using chamois butter on your hands. So this is what bicyclists put on their butt and all that stuff to keep from getting all chafed and monkey butted when they're riding. So try to zoom in on this. I don't know how close it's gonna get. I'll, post a picture. I bought this on Amazon for like 20 bucks for this tube. But I go ahead and slather this stuff on my hands before a race or ride where I know I'm gonna get kind of aggressive because I'll take these gloves off, and these actually still have like tape stuck in them, which I'll get in that in a second here. But so I normally end up getting nasty calluses right here, obviously in the thumb, right here, and then a bit here, and then this hand I get again on the outside of the palm. And what I found is when I grip the handlebars as I ride, I kind of wrap on the outside. I don't have full wraps on this bike, and I don't like full wraps just for the sake of how I wrap my hands when I'm holding the throttle and everything. I think from my trials background, it's just kind of how I move around on the bike. And so what I found is it really gets ripped up in the palm here. But with the chamois butter, I don't know what it does. It's like a lotion that kind of stays in there. It kind of like waterproofs your hand. But it seems like it adds this nice buffer that, if my hand does sweat, it moves it away from the skin, and then it moves out into the glove and, dries off from riding or whatever. So that was really helpful. And then the other one was this 3M transport tape. It's like a waterproof, I'll try to find the part number for it, but this is a waterproof 3M like bandage tape. And so if it's earlier in the season or I haven't been riding much or whatever, and I don't know if this is going to be enough or if it's a race and I just want to go, you know what, I don't want to deal with having a blister where I can't grip my hands at all, you know, a third of the way through the race or 2/3 of the way through the race. I'll tape my hands up. And what I'll do is I'll do basically a wrap going here. I'll basically do fully around my thumb, but I don't want to like grip it too much because I still want to maintain mobility of everything. And that's kind of key, because if you lose that normal feel, you're not gonna like it at all. So I'll just do a loop through here, maybe one going this way. Basically in the areas that I know generally get tender, I'll do that on both hands, and then even like around, you know, the pads here until I get calluses built up. I'll kind of do a wrap that goes all the way around so that there's no chance of it like slipping off during a race. And it's really gone a long way from, you know, I remember one of the last race I did a while back, and it was like, I did well, but it's like the last portion of it was just torture, because I had probably 6 blisters on each hand that were just tore open, and it was just a moisture thing in the air. It's a really humid day, and tape really would have helped with that. And so that's, since using that, it's like I don't deal with it. I don't use the tape when I dual sport or just riding with friends, stuff like that, because I'm not really pushing as much. But when it comes race time, it's one of those things where I put it on because it's just that safety factor. Then the other thing that I always ride with, and it shocks me how many people don't use these, but I always ride with earplugs. I've been drumming since I was in, you know, 4th grade, and I always valued being able to hear everything. And when I got into riding, you know, no one wore earplugs. You know, we were kids, we just rode. But then as I got older and as I started doing like more like even street stuff or racing and all that, really found it very imperative to put some earplugs in. And it seems kind of counterintuitive, like, oh, well, you want to hear the engine and all this and that. And I would argue you actually hear the engine and what's going on better, because you're filtering out these really high noises, and it allows you to focus. And what you don't realize that you're getting when you're not wearing earplugs is noise fatigue. And I found that in times when I forgot earplugs on a ride, I got wore out much quicker than when I have earplugs in. And when the earplugs are in, I can focus on what I'm doing, what the bike's doing, and I'm not being like interrupted by, you know, a noisy engine that's buzzing about. So that is something that I would advise anyone to find. I use little foamy disposables just because they're the easiest to do. For street riding, I've got some simple rubbery plug-in ones. I think Surefires or something like that. But I can't use those for when I'm racing because the rubber on it, it gets too slippery when I sweat, and so those end up falling out. However, the foamies for me are really key. So these were just some I picked up at the grocery store when I ran out. Otherwise, I've got, you know, like spark plug style ones or whatever they're called. Those I really love those. They're soft in the ear. I can literally wear them all day, and it just makes you feel way better when you're riding. So chamois butter, tape, and earplugs. So that's my little tip thing for the day. So we'll be back in about a week or so. We're going down to the indoor on Wednesday, and so I hope everyone has a great week here. Any questions, feedback on this stuff, or want to cuss me out for anything I posted before, feel free, like, comment, subscribe. I am Andrew from SpackleBucket Moto, here with God's Chariot. We'll catch you later.